Hey everybody!
Welcome back to Film
Welcome
Juice.
to Film Juice. What is going on? Joe, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
That's
how are you?
You took too long to ask. What movies we got today, Joe?
We got some
Let's
good
talk
movies.
about number one.
Yes. Well, we got first movie, My Dinner with Herve. It is an HBO movie that just came out, starring Peter Dinklage and Jamie Dornan. Jamie Dornan from the 50 Shades movies, and Peter Dinklage from Game of Thrones, Elf, all those, a lot of movies, tons of movies. So and it's based on the true story of the actor who was in the show Fantasy Island, Herve. He's a French little person, and he basically is getting interviewed by this reporter called Danny. And that's really it. And Danny has his own demons they struggle with throughout, and it goes from there. And it takes place over one night of an interview, and yeah.
So it really explores. You know, I have not watched a lot of Fantasy Island. In case you guys don't know, it was a TV show that ran from '77 to '84. That's 1984, not 1884. But I was familiar with this guy. I just kind of knew him on the show, obviously, and they talk about it in the movie a lot, how his famous catchphrase, the plane, and people coming up and asking him to do that all the time. But what an interesting personal life this guy had.
It's crazy.
Lots of controversy also.
Well, yeah.
It was really, really just crazy. It was just one of those crazy stories you've never heard. Yeah,
you know what it reminded me of instantly when I was first watching this movie was Capote.
Okay.
His life, not the movie, but his life. You know how, because they both were very famous people, and they both were very controversial people as well, and they both had I guess early lives. Is that the term? Late lives. What's the They both died at a younger age.
Sure. Okay.
I don't know what the term. I
think early lives is going to catch on. I think that's what people are going to say from now on. But I mean, just Peter Dinklage plays this character so well. Because the main thing about Herve is he's struggling with how famous he used to be, and he still has like a bunch of money, but he's kind of blowing it on drugs and alcohol and like women and stuff like that. And apparently even when he was on Fantasy Island, he was throwing like these crazy parties and things like that. And Peter Dinklage just goes so deep into this character. Like he plays him just so well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's just so, it feels so personal. And like I love Peter Dinklage, but this was definitely a role that he dissolved into.
Oh,
like when I was watching it, I was like, oh,
you could tell.
That's Herve.
Because it was, I think that's the strongest point in this movie is the acting. I think the acting from both actors are really good. I think definitely Peter Dinklage steals the show.
Oh my gosh. And obviously is the main character, but he was so great. I mean, one of his best performances ever. Yeah,
really, honestly. It was just crazy to see, like, he goes through so many phases in this movie because you see not only his present self in the movie, but also all of the, what led up to it, like how he was an artist and
that was
how he went from all of that to the show and then how he auditioned for that and it was very interesting. And another thing about him and Capote, they both had really weird, high-pitched voices that caught me off guard, man. Caught me off guard so much when I first heard his voice. I was like, whoa.
You know what though?
Okay.
Throughout watching the movie, because it is, Herve himself, he had a very unique voice.
Yeah.
And Peter Dinklage does a pretty good job of emanating that, I think. But to the point where I didn't find it irritating or distracting throughout the course of the film.
It was just right when he gets first introduced, I was like, oh. And then for that one first dinner scene, I was like, okay. And then I got over it because you get used to it by that point.
But I do think that honestly, the weak link for me of this movie was Jamie Dornan.
Really?
Towards the end, in some of the more emotional scenes.
He did a great job, I thought.
I thought he did okay. But
really?
I didn't. Yeah, there were some parts that, and you know what? Maybe it was just the writing of his monologue that he has to do at the end. That's probably more so what it was. But there were just that part. There were segments of it that I just didn't believe him.
I'll agree with that. I think I liked his performance, but I think my main flaw with this movie, it wasn't a big, and I don't think it was detrimental to the movie. I think the performances make it work, but I think the story and the writing is just a little it's okay. I don't think it's amazing. You know what I mean? The story the story's also very slow in the beginning. I just felt like it took a while to get into everything.
We're really getting all of this from Dornan's character's point of view.
Yeah.
And I think that the B story that they mixed in with him and his personal life was not flushed out enough.
Yep, I agree.
And it was it felt just like filler. Filler for time and
and I understood you needed to know his demons, but they could have done it in a different way or a faster way, I think. Just throw it I don't know. But
or maybe just in the beginning and then not keep going back.
Yeah.
Because the parts where he talks about Herve, that's the name of the movie and stuff, and obviously it did impact this guy's life, Dornan's character. But those scenes were just not interesting.
Okay,
right? I was like, get back to Herve.
No, I agree.
That's why I sat down to watch this movie.
Yeah, I was blown away. I really felt for this character. I felt so bad for this character. I felt so bad for Herve.
Oh my gosh. Absolutely.
I really did.
Absolutely.
But then there's parts you don't really feel bad for him for. It's a really interesting character piece. It really is.
So complex, and that probably has something to do with the fact that he is based on a real person.
I will say this on Jamie Dornan's behalf. It is definitely the best performance I've ever seen him in.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Also, I agree with his acting in some moments, but I do still think that even though I don't think he's the best written, I think in the emotional scenes, especially when they're on the street, I think I liked that scene a lot, and I thought he did a good job
liked that scene, but I still think he was just too weak of a link at certain parts during that scene. That's really how I feel.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair. What would you rate this movie?
I'm gonna have to give it a 7.5.
7.5.
That's pretty much all because of Peter Dinklage. This movie looks very good. Maricé Alberti, who was the DP on Creed, which that's a good-looking movie.
Yeah, it is.
Also did this one. I pretty much thought that everything from a technical standpoint was average.
Yeah,
but
it was
well done, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing
Nothing was amazing.
The acting and the story as a whole, not necessarily the script, the way it was written, but the story, that's what pulled me in this movie.
But the script definitely brought it down for me as well. Also, like you said, nothing really stood out other than the performances.
Yeah.
So that's what kept it down.
That makes it worth it, though.
Yes.
People should watch this movie.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's a very interesting story, and Peter Dinklage is one of his best roles. But I would have to give it an 8 just because of those reasons. But,
all right.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. We are going to be right back after this break. We have a special guest.
We do.
Have a special guest
it's going to be
up.
fun. Oh, excited.
So we'll see you after this.
Okay, time to write as many notes for 8th grade as I can.
Hi. You think you're probably sober?
Yeah.
But you're thinking about taking the back roads home, just in case. If you're probably sober, then why would you do that? Good choice.
Probably okay isn't okay. If you see a warning sign, stop and call a cab, a car, or a friend.
That's a full glass of wine. I'll be chatting you later.
There are 16 million children struggling with hunger in America. That's 1 in 5 daughters, sons, neighbors, and classmates who don't know where their next meal is coming from. Yet billions of pounds of good food go to waste every year. It's time we do something about it. Feeding America is a nationwide network of food banks that helps provide meals to millions of kids and families in need. Visit feedingamerica.org to help them feed even more. Together, we can solve hunger. Together, we're feeding America.
Hamilton was adopted from a rescue in 2008. He really likes to be around people. And as soon as I start to make my breakfast, Hamilton is right there. I get out my mat and I'm doing a downward dog and he's underneath. He's quite the pug about town. He gets invited to a lot of parties. He knows he's a pretty big deal. I mean, look at this little face. How could you not love him?
It's me, Artie. Come see what I collected from the Creative Galaxy in my idea box.
Transform your world.
Will you help me make art?
Before you throw it away,
Hey, I have an idea.
think outside the box.
Go be amazing!
Give your cardboard box another life. Recycle.
Back, everybody! Welcome to Film Juice. We have a very special guest to talk about our next movie. A friend of the show. She's here every week, working behind the scenes. Sydney Polino, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me, guys.
We had to have you on to talk about this movie,
Yes.
8th Grade.
Great
Bo
movie.
Burnham's directorial debut. He also
excited.
wrote it. I know you're such a big fan of him.
Yeah, I claim him as a genius, not gonna lie. I just think that everything he does is just it's just so mind-blowing. I don't know.
Well, since you're the guest, we're going to have you give us a little synopsis of the movie.
All right, cool. Well, the synopsis basically is we follow our main character, Kayla, through her last week of 8th grade, and that's kind of the gist of it, you know? She has some rough times, she has some good times, but
okay,
it's a roller coaster.
I got to talk about my #1 thing with this movie right off the bat. This movie is so stressful.
Oh, yeah.
I was panicking watching it, and that obviously has to do with the way Bo Burnham wrote it.
Yes.
I think it's so relatable.
It really is.
Even now, as I'm talking about it, I feel my chest tightening up, remembering the things that happened.
Yeah,
Kayla.
It's crazy. It's wild. Everything this whole movie is centered around the idea of stress and not feeling
just the awkwardness.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It nails that.
Oh yeah.
It was crazy. It nailed that anxiety down so well, and I think it nailed that grade down so well. And I mean, it's been a while since we've been in 8th grade, but I imagine the teacher dabbing and the whole lit
That was
thing.
one of the best parts is he wrote the adults so well.
Oh, he did. He nailed it.
Yeah.
He really did.
Kayla's dad was obviously the most developed.
Oh my God.
Josh Hamilton.
Amazing.
Did really well, I think, with that whole.
I actually think he was my favorite character in the entire movie.
He was a pretty good character.
He was so good.
There was just something about him. He was, trying to be as supportive as he possibly could without trying to be a mean person. Because her mom wasn't in the picture and everything. So I think he was trying to keep that balance of being a fun dad.
Exactly, and that balance was so interesting to see.
I really liked that they didn't shove. They didn't really shove his backstory in your face at all either.
Right.
It comes up.
They stayed on Kayla.
Yes, and it comes up, but it only comes up when it has to.
Exactly.
It's not
Excellent
that long.
use of subtext, no unnecessary expository.
Exactly.
Yeah, because I mean, I was watching commentary on it, so I kind of know a little bit more. But
I know a little bit more about it than you guys, so no big deal.
That's not what I meant, but whatever. Okay, we're just gonna move past it. But he stressed how, we only see this block in Kayla's life as opposed to, seeing her entire thing. Because you don't relive your life each week by week, you know what I mean?
No, yeah.
So, we're not going to talk about, that time that you almost drowned when you're, 40.
It felt in the moment, everything.
Yeah.
And it really, felt, of this, time, perfectly. But I want to bring up really quick the score in this movie. I think the score in this movie is so good. It's one of my favorite scores I've heard in a movie recently. I think it perfectly juxtaposes the film, and I also thought it was very interesting that he didn't write the score, that he didn't have any, it was someone else. I thought that was very interesting.
Sure, he had some say
well,
in it,
of
obviously,
course, but
like you would.
Like him being a musician, I'm surprised he just didn't write it.
But I think because this is an A24 movie, I think a lot of their movies have really good scores.
Yeah,
they've done it again.
I just thought like the techno beats and everything that involved it. I just thought it was so smart how he incorporated that in the movie because it just I enjoyed it a lot. Like I could tell. It was awesome.
So when going into this movie, I thought that. Because, you know, I'm not as big a Bo Burnham fan as the two of you are, but I do like him. I think he's a really smart guy.
Yeah.
I was expecting this, especially for his first movie, to be just very well written, you know, to be something very clever. I would say this movie is more smart than clever, but that's what I was expecting. But he directed it super well.
Yeah, he did.
All the camera placement is something that this movie does really well, and the editing also is excellent.
The editing,
and so that's what really blew me away, because it's more. A lot of its elements are more like an art film would be.
Yeah.
Right.
Than
what I had expected going into it. I was pleasantly surprised.
The one issue I did have with this movie, I like it was literally the only thing like that I noticed that like kind of like was like, okay, it's his first film, but the cinematography like lighting I thought was a little bland. Like nothing really, I don't think any of the shots really like stood out. It was fine, it wasn't bad, but I never thought like, wow, like this looks awesome. You know what I mean?
Well, I think that, I liked the camera placement just because I liked the blocking of the characters, and I think that's what the camera was serving. I mean, compositionally, were there any like still transitional shots or anything that were like crazy? No, but I don't think it necessarily needed that. Yeah. As for the lighting, I bet you that's probably on purpose. Because middle school,
and that could be true. But even though, and I do agree with that, like it doesn't really need amazing cinematography, which is why I still think it's an amazing movie. But it does still bring it down for me, like, because it could have been better. But I still like it. I still like it a lot, personally.
I mean, I kind of understand what you mean. I mean, it's more in the aspect of, like, there was no particular scene, like, lighting-wise that I think really stood out. It was more just, like, plot-wise, like, especially when she's driven home by the Olivia's friend. That was a whole scene.
The Truth or Dare scene was
my least favorite.
I think it was really well done, but I think it was like really hard to get through. Easily.
It was super hard to get through.
Also, the one standout supporting character in
we gotta
movie.
Talk about
oh my God, the girl's cousin. What's
Gabe, played by Jake Ryan.
Gabe was my favorite character.
When we first got introduced to Gabe,
oh my God,
I was like, I am not gonna like Gabe. I am not all in on Gabe. He's like swimming in this pool, and he's got the guy, and I was like, oh Gabe, oh Gabe. But then later, and I didn't expect him to come back in such a big way. But he does so brilliantly.
Yes.
And
yeah, definitely.
It's so good.
I'm getting too emotional thinking about this. Somebody else.
It's so good.
Oh,
I think the last scene when he comes back is so well done. And I really like how this movie ends. I love how this movie ends. I think with the whole, because like I went throughout the movie, I sympathized with Kayla, but I disliked her in like a few moments because like I felt more for the dad than her, but that's just personally for me. Like I felt so bad.
I think they're scenes together, but also I mean that's just part of Kayla's struggle.
Oh yeah, of course,
this whole
and that's why I still thought she was a great character. Yeah. But at the end, how you like she's finally like getting happy.
She's
and
becoming more comfortable with who she is.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
So I think that the tone of the ending was hopeful, but not definitive, which I really enjoyed.
Yeah. Really quick, how they used the social media aspect. That is a very like crazy detail that they went super detailed with it. Like imagine all of those Instagram profiles, all of those Snap, everything they had to like make.
I mean that's insane.
That's
so important.
Yeah.
For.
Yep.
8th grade.
Well, yeah,
you know,
I mean, kids nowadays, you know, like when we were in 8th grade, like Facebook was like the main thing.
Yep.
That's what you went on that. If you went on social media, you don't look like you did.
I did not have Facebook.
But like now it's turned into Instagram and Snapchat. Yeah. My brother is 14, so like that's his world.
Oh, snap.
So adding that made a lot more sense. And one of the interviews that I watched him talk about the movie, he was saying how originally he had written in that, you know, she was going to use Facebook, or that Facebook was going to kind of be like the main social media that was going to be used. And he got commentary back from, you know, the younger cast.
It's old school, man.
Yeah, and they were like, no one uses Facebook anymore.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
Yeah,
that's a big thing.
I feel like a lot of this movie was like done on this, not a lot of it, but like some of those details were like done on the spot with that.
I don't think so.
Really?
I don't think it was done on the spot at all.
No,
well, I think it was made to feel that way. But there was no way it was done on the spot. I think I imagine Bo Burnham being super meticulous about this.
Oh, no, I agree with that. I'm saying, like, I'm sure he changed things, like, during the process.
Well, yeah.
I don't know. But I just had one interesting question that I left with this movie, and I'm curious what you guys will think.
Okay.
Because I think it's a really interesting question. Do you think this movie will age well because of how it is so relevant today, and there are so many specific things only like this year like relevant, like the whole they bring up Rick and Morty thing, like people 10 years from now won't even know what that's about.
I think the quick answer to that would be, I think the bare bones of it, I think yes will age, because we even like going back into the past, like a lot of us experienced a lot of cringy moments that are in the movie. Technology and like, you know, pop culture references may not date as well.
Yeah.
So.
But I think the tone will remain relatable forever.
Yeah.
Of course.
Ratings. Let's get them.
I'm going to give this movie a 9. I thought it was amazing. I think Bo Burnham is a genius. And yeah, I just love him. And I love this movie.
Oh man, I gave it a 10 because obviously there's just like, I've never experienced a movie where after I have watched it the first time, I wanted to see it again, like immediately.
Oh, wow.
So
that's great.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, this movie's definitely worth a couple watches.
Yeah.
I think that it deserves an 8 though, and I'm sticking. I'm sticking by that.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Like you wrote stressful and
it was so stressful. It was my biggest thing about this movie. All right, Sydney, we really appreciate you coming.
Thank you so much.
We hope you had a good time.
Thank you.
And Joe and I, we are going to be right back with our throwback Jaws. You don't want to miss it.
I'll be right back. Hi. You think you're probably sober?
Yeah.
But you're thinking about taking the back roads home, just in case. If you're probably sober, then why would you do that? Good choice.
Probably okay isn't okay. If you see a warning sign, stop and call a cab, a car, or a friend.
That's a full glass of wine. I'll be chatting you later.
There are 16 million children struggling with hunger in America. That's 1 in 5 daughters, sons, neighbors, and classmates who don't know where their next meal is coming from. Yet billions of pounds of good food go to waste every year. It's time we do something about it. Feeding America is a nationwide network of food banks that helps provide meals to millions of kids and families in need. Visit feedingamerica.org to help them feed even more. Together, we can solve hunger. Together, we're feeding America.
Hamilton was adopted from a rescue in 2008. He really likes to be around people. And as soon as I start to make my breakfast, Hamilton is right there. I get out my mat and I'm doing a downward dog and he's underneath. He's quite the pug about town. He gets invited to a lot of parties. He knows he's a pretty big deal. I mean, look at this little face. How could you not love him?
It's me, Artie. Come see what I collected from the creative galaxy in my idea box.
Transform your world.
Will you help me make art?
Before you throw it away,
Hey, I have an idea.
think outside the box.
Go be amazing!
Give your cardboard box another life. Recycle.
And we're back.
We're back.
To Film Juice. I'm Andrew Canada.
Of Juices. I am Joe Dorado.
Did you have to think about that for a second?
No.
Our throwback is an excellent movie.
Great movie.
Yep, 1975. The movie that pretty much made Steven Spielberg's career.
Yeah.
The movie that gave him final cut on all the rest of his projects. He did a lot of really cool stuff before and things on television, but this is the one that really gave him the opportunity to solidify himself in cinematic culture.
Jaws.
Yeah, Jaws. So this, if you have not seen Jaws for whatever reason,
that'd be
this
crazy.
is a movie about a town that most of the money coming into it is through tourism.
Yes.
And it's a beach town. People come from all over the place, swim in the ocean. Shark attacks start happening.
Whoa.
Turns out there's a great white. Not just any great white.
The
great white. Jaws. And so scientists, the sheriff of this town, and a local fisherman have to go out and try and hunt down this gigantic shark that's
team of fishermen.
That's terrorizing the town.
Yeah. That was a great summary. This movie is great. Like, this movie is so, I can't like hide it. It's just really, really well done in so many aspects. I think the main aspect being the practical effects in this movie that I still think aged well.
Oh, no doubt about it. I mean, the one is the shark.
Yeah.
Right? And it still looks pretty good. And if you watch any stuff about the behind the scenes of this movie, all you'll hear is how they had so many problems with this freaking shark and trying to get it to work
I'm
well.
sure.
So the way that they kind of helped solve that problem was to have the shark on screen, really on screen, as little as possible.
Yep.
So with the help of like flotation devices that the characters shoot into the shark is present. And even scenes when the shark isn't really around, you can almost still feel his presence.
Yes, and I think that that is shown in the opening scene, which is one of my favorite scenes in a movie.
Yeah.
I think the opening scene's so well done. How you don't see it, but you know.
Exactly.
And
that's what it's all about.
It's so well done, and also it features one of the dumbest characters I've ever. Not the girl, the guy on the beach.
Oh God. Yeah.
Oh,
absolutely,
God.
absolutely.
But yeah, it was just and you don't see the shark, but it's still scary. Like, it's still suspenseful and scary because you know what's happening. And
absolutely.
It's very well done.
That's kind of what makes it so scary, right? Is you'll never see it coming.
No, yeah.
Right? But because obviously the main track for the score of this movie is so famous.
Yep.
Done by John Williams.
Amazing.
And it's such a suspenseful dun. I think it gets maybe overused or talked about a lot, but especially, can you imagine when that thing even first came out?
Yeah,
and it still holds up when you watch this movie.
Oh, yeah.
Because you just
you feel
the
it.
anticipation.
Yeah, it's like, yep.
Right. It's like old school Hitchcock,
yeah.
right? Like
it's
make
really,
wait as long
and
as
that,
possible.
yeah, and this movie does so much like it's very very much Hitchcock, I feel like, with the suspense and with the
absolutely.
shots. Like, the shots in this movie hold for a while sometimes, and it's really well done. And it features one of the best Zollies of all time.
No doubt about it.
It's one of the first. I don't think it's the first, but it's one of the first, or one of the most famous ones at least.
Yeah, one of the most famous ones. It can't be the first.
No.
Yeah.
It's one. I thought it was one of them though, but I don't know. But either way, I thought it was that scene is awesome, and they use it perfectly for that. The editing in general is just great.
Oh, the editing for this movie is just off the charts.
Yeah.
That's, again, with the suspense and everything else, and, the issues that they have with the shark and making that work. If the editing were worse, the whole thing would just
I think the editing does hold it together really well. I think the characters and actors are also really good in this movie. It's mainly the main three.
Yeah, the core.
Yeah, I think they're really good. I love the scene where the captain is telling his story about his past and like his, you know, with the other shark, and I thought it was really cool.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think that this movie just shows, for me, almost more than any other Spielberg movie, just how good at his job he really is.
Yeah.
Because the use of color in this movie, particularly blue and yellow, like if, just in case for some of you guys, if you haven't like watched it in a while, go back and watch it and just look for the colors blue and yellow, because they will literally pop up non-stop. And it's,
That's
of course,
true.
to talk about the craziness, the yellow symbolizing the madness of the people in the town who are being attacked by sharks, and the mayor also, who's trying to deny that these shark attacks are going down.
I always thought, I always like to look at like all like the scenes of the movie just brought down to the color and seeing what the whole color of the movie looks like. And this is just very blue and yellow, like you said.
Yeah.
And with like some red, like in the beginning, but blue and yellow for the most part. And I think it works really well. And it almost this probably wasn't intentional at all, but it almost like looks like a beach. And I always thought that was really cool whenever I looked at the
palette?
Yeah, whenever I looked at the palette, like it's just like sand and then the water.
Yeah.
And I always thought that was really cool. I don't think it was, might have been intentional, might have not been. I always thought that was a really cool thing.
That was part of it, and I think that just adds another really cool element to it. And this movie, I mean, it just scared the crap out of people when it came out.
It scared me so much when I was a kid. When I first saw this movie,
how old were
I was
you
terrified.
when you first saw it?
Really young, like I remember we watched it because my aunt wanted to play a trick on me. We watched it after I went to the aquarium. I was so terrified.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to bring up such a dramatic event, Joe.
I don't know what
the show.
I don't know how old I was though, but I was young.
But now you've seen it.
It's a great movie
very
now.
Enjoyable,
Yep.
no doubt about it. What would you rate it?
What would I rate it? I'd have to give this movie a 9 out of 10 juice boxes. I think it's really good.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's really good. I don't think it's perfect. I think.
No, I wouldn't say so.
But I would say
But
it's
really
really good. Like I can't really complain much about anything. Yeah, I would say go watch it again. It aged pretty well for the most.
Oh,
like
I think it aged phenomenally.
Yeah. So.
And I would have to give it a 9.5.
That's fair.
I think it's just a fun movie.
Oh, I agree.
It's a great adventure flick.
Yep.
It's got everything you're looking for.
Yeah, it has action, suspense.
Yeah.
It really does. Oh man, it's a good one. It really is.
So if you haven't watched Jaws or you haven't watched it in a while, go check it out. I know it's included with Prime right now. I'm not sure if it's still on Netflix. They might have taken
I don't
it off.
think so. I haven't seen it in a while, but maybe.
Check it out.
Yeah, go check it out.
Certainly. All right. That's going to do it for our show tonight. We appreciate you guys watching.
Thank you so much.
Yep. Thanks again to Sydney for being here for that
Yes.
segment. We will see you next time at the movies.